going to get
Magnus
to
is using Proctor?
Magnus has
Isn't he
used
like
it
occasionally just playing on his phone or something?
because it isn't universal, but he has used it.
Okay,
When it is
that's-
required, he will. I wonder how you would answer the question for someone who cares so much about cheating to believe it's a fair position to take that you would not at least try something once before denying it. By the way, that seems like a pretty dogmatic.
I can give you my answer. I think it's a fair answer.
Yeah.
It's because I don't, like, honestly, I don't respect the tournament.
So you don't care about titles.
Wait, whoa. Wait a second. Sorry, you guys. All right, you guys. So let's jump right into this. We, of course, have the C Squared podcast, which recently dropped. Danny decided to go on this. I was actually aware of this a little bit before it happened, so I'm kind of surprised that it only dropped now. Danny's very busy promoting his book, which is coming out, I think, in September or October. So that was a big part of it, but I assume there's something very specific about cheating here, which is what we're going to cover. So let's listen in.
As to Title Tuesday specifically, if you had to just estimate in each Title Tuesday a percentage of people who are actively cheating in that tournament in 1 game or 11 games, whatever it is, just ballpark a number, what would you say?
I mean, we've written this online. You and I don't agree on this.
I just want to. Maybe it's changed since because.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause this because here's something I am gonna say about this. Okay, I'm gonna say some stuff, and a lot of people, I think contextually they misunderstand some of the things, but like I have heard certain things, and when Danny says they disagree, it's because Fabiano thinks a lot of people are cheating. Fabiano might not be at the extreme of Kramnik, but Fabiano does think that there's a lot of cheating going on. Danny is being very diplomatic here, and he's not kind of going over the top. But I know this directly that like Fabiano here, he's much more paranoid about it. I would say I'm just gonna say paranoid because I think I'm right to say that about cheating than quite a few players. Even if he doesn't necessarily say it publicly, I do know this directly. So that's just a little bit of tea for anybody who's wondering. And your people are probably going to wonder, well, how do you know this? And the reason I know this is because everybody talks amongst themselves. And I even said this when I was in Las Vegas. I even said this because I played this Armenian player, Robert Postapilian, I think it was, like Title Tuesday like 2 weeks ago. And when I was in Las Vegas, there was a Title Tuesday which I couldn't play because of the freestyle event. And when we were at a dinner, Fabiano was talking about this Armenian guy and how he was beating all these GMs left and right. And so like I do know this with firsthand like details. This is not something that I'm just making up or saying for content or anything else. So when Danny says they disagree in a very serious kind of way.
This is probably going back. We've spoken about this.
We've also seen less cheating since we rolled out Proctor, partly because we've also seen less participation because people who don't get it done right, then the numbers are going back up again. So it's hard to say. Honestly, like you should check online because we publish this. We have seen it fluctuates somewhere between 2 and 5%.
Can we just take 2 as a lead into a question?
Wait a second. The Fair Play team later informed us their report estimated the percentage of people cheating in any given Title Tuesday is between 0 and 2%, not 2 to 5%. Okay, so Danny misspoke here. So it's 0 to 2%. No offense, is Fabiano genuinely worried about cheating? Sometimes it seems fake. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds of drama, but I will just say one thing that I've not liked, and this goes back to the Han stuff, by the way, some years back, is that a lot of people say one thing privately and they say something else publicly. And I'm not even really necessarily talking about Fabiano. I'm just saying in general that this goes all the way back to the Han stuff. Like I'm just gonna say it. Like maybe people are gonna get annoyed at me for saying this. Maybe I'm spilling some tea I shouldn't spill. But at the end of the day, what a lot of people say publicly versus what they say privately are very, very different. Very, very different. So let's keep going.
The low end.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna be happy with 1 because let's say 2.
Yeah.
And let's say a Title Tuesday has 500 players. Is that fair on average?
Yeah, usually has more. Yeah.
Well, used to have more, not anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can take 600 players. So let's say it's 12 players in a Title Tuesday are cheating. If we're taking 2.
No, it doesn't mean 12 players. I meant 2% of games.
Oh, sorry, 2% of games.
So someone will cheat in a game. It doesn't mean 12 players are cheating.
Okay, it could be 12 people cheating in one game, or it could be one person.
One person cheating in 11
games. Person cheating once.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, which is actually a very important distinction.
It is a big distinction for sure.
It's huge actually, because
it's obviously huge because it could be the difference between 12 and 120, right? In any case, do you think that let's just assume that it is, let's say, 12 games.
12 games total.
And it could be 3 people, right?
Sure.
That could be a fair amount.
Okay.
Do you think that that is an acceptable amount, that it's okay to run the tournament? Or do you think that the tournament is damaging if you already have that level of cheating in it?
I obviously think it's an acceptable amount because we're running them. And I think the net benefit is phenomenal for the chess world and the chess community. And I think we also close roughly 12 title players a month. And we're now doing it publicly, which, by the way, has only been going for like, what, 5 months now?
Also,
so
one other thing, actually, I don't know, maybe someone in chat can inform me on this point, but when Danny says that it's public, I don't recall seeing names being said publicly. I could be wrong, but I swear that I haven't actually seen names like literally being said publicly. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe someone in chat can inform me. Obviously, we're on a slight delay, but I don't know what that means. Because like it's like when I envision publicly, I envision that like there's a tweet that says, you know, so and so was like banned or isn't able to play titled events for 6 months. Like that's what I envision as being public. Or like, you know, there's some kind of report at the end of the month where it's like this number of GMs or IMs or whatever their title is, and you see the names and that you see they're banned. And I haven't seen any of that, so I actually have some skepticism about exactly what that means. Because to me, when you say we're closing accounts publicly, that just feels like you have an account that has a title and it's like banned or it's like not able to play tournaments. But unless I actually go and find the account, I'm never going to know who isn't able to. They have a report and you have to go into the report. Okay, they have a report. Eric Petrosian says they have a report. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, maybe there is. I haven't seen it. Only seen numbers, not yeah. I mean, I don't know. But let's keep going.
we're talking about the fact that some titled Tuesdays will lose the battle on the way to hopefully winning the war. And by the way, you didn't let me finish our policy changes because I think that's important. I think acknowledging.
By the way, why is there some weird guy in the background here? This is so weird. That doesn't even look like a chess player. I don't know who that is.
That the growth was potentially on its way to being cancerous. That the tree limb needed to be cut. The policy we established of we're going to be this level of forgiveness and this liberal and even help people rehabilitate in a way that put us in a position where people felt like we were covering secrets and we were providing no accountability. I'm saying all of that with full acknowledgement, and I'm saying that not to get credit, though I think I deserve some. I'm saying it to acknowledge that we have thought a lot about this and then tried to arrive at a policy that can still be compassionate and practical.
Oh, it's Danny's eldest son? Okay.
Compassionate to minors and practical to the scale and to what we're trying to do. So let me say again that now that we are closing people publicly, again, we've established the one exception you found. By the way, you're very astute, although that wasn't maybe a hard person to find if we think about it.
I have other things that I'm less sure about.
Okay. And I would bet they all fall under the same category, that the cheating occurred before our policy change, just so you know. Because we are doing it publicly now. We have no reason not to. And
see,
we have closed them big.
I don't understand what public means, though. This is the thing. Again, it says publicly, but it's like, it actually comes back to what I was saying before about how like you're trying to aggregate all this information about like, you know, a random stock and then you don't know where to find it. This feels like the same thing where it's like, yes, if I go look through everybody who played in Title Tuesday, literally name by name by name, probably I will find something, probably. But even then, I'm still not so sure. So I don't know what publicly means. I'm actually really confused by the whole publicly bit.
Names who are threatening to sue us, like we're actually doing it publicly. It's not a policy
Ooh,
we're continuing.
Whoa, wait a second.
Because we are doing it publicly now. We have no reason not to. And we have closed some bigger names who are threatening to sue us. Like we're actually doing it publicly. It's not a policy we're continuing. If you cheat in a prize event, you're closed publicly. If you cheat as a minor, you are given the opportunity to confess. But the third thing I was going to say that is really critical before we got into this is that instead of Danny's emails being binding and people being able to then, you know, say whatever it was, that they were coerced or they made up the story, whatever it was, you have to sign a document. You have to sign a legally binding document that acknowledges what you did and that you are on your last chance account. This has fundamentally changed the process, and it has fundamentally changed some people who refuse to do so, and they can go play on another site. And that is actually huge when you consider chess.com's position and what we're building with ecosystems and all this stuff. And so I'm actually acknowledging, I think we were too late on this, but it was a tough problem to solve. And I think that if you give us time on where we're going with these new policies, I think people will be more scared. Okay. We have lost some battles, some PR battles, some whatever along the way. And I think some of them were deserved. I think some of them were not, my honest opinion. But I think that some of the criticism and the PR battles we lost around us not having a handle on this were deserved, because what we were lacking was providing accountability. You were right. And we needed to be more aggressive here, and we're doing that. And I think as long as we're doing that in my world with some compassion guardrails, we will still have a judge and jury. It does matter how the person confesses at times. It does, and sometimes the length changes on that, but they still had to sign an agreement now. We're trying to protect our site, and we're trying to protect the players, but we're also trying to be fair and compassionate. And also, I don't think all cheating is always equal. I think prize events.
No, I don't think that
and
is.
So anyway, I guess I think we're more on the same page about how we got here and that we needed to change than you think. I think there are individual cases that are hard to crack, as you know, and there are times when it can look like some people think certain cheating happening and we don't, and that's a larger discussion that we probably shouldn't get into, because that will include individual names and there's no need to. But I think the policy has made good progress.
Let's talk a little bit about that without going into details, but what's the threshold that you guys use on average to ban somebody? Like,
I mean, this
They can't get into this.
This is without debate. A threshold that we can sleep on at night is we are ready to go to court, and we are certain, beyond certain. Because when it comes to statistics, there are only levels of certainty. You are never outside of the world that I lose sleep at night
so like,
for that person.
Basically, if I understand what he's saying, I think Danny here is basically saying, like, I don't know how they reach, I don't know what their metrics are or how they reach it, but basically if there's like, it's like 99.9999% chance. Like it's literally impossible. But I don't know what that entails at all, because obviously I'm not involved in any of this.
Person's name, because that person refuses to admit, even though I stand by the team's investigation, I stand by the threshold we established. I stand by that if this person who we were just talking about took us to court, that we would win, and so I supported it. But I actually lose sleep at night over that one because of who that person is and what I don't want to say more, because obviously I'm implying the potential. I think I struggle over all of these, and I stand by the struggle because we close people when we go to court. I am not comfortable with Vladimir Kramniking this, where his literal argument is that you have to accept a certain amount of innocent deaths. No, I don't agree.
Well,
and
I think that's fair, that you shouldn't be throwing people under the bus.
Well, it's not even throwing people under the bus. It's like it's acting in an irresponsible way that would be, I mean, frankly, irresponsible to the data and the track record we've established. So the answer is, like, the threshold has always been the same, which is I'm ready to go to court and we would win. And
Reddit's going to find a player in 2 hours?
The couple we've made, they were statistical mistakes. One of them was actually a manual review misinterpretation of the data. One of I always think of the two big ones that changed our approach. But, like, we're not operating in a world where there's a certain, in some ways I guess you are, but I guess what we're accepting, what would my director of fair play say? He would probably say something like, we're accepting a 1 in 10 million chance. I guess that,
okay, so 99.99 is what I just said.
It's too
aggressive or too
not aggressive.
lenient.
I don't know if lenient.
No, because I really only quote that
1 in 10
statistics because it's kind of an unrealistic statistic. You know, I think
you're trying to be a bit too picky, because I understand there's the one approach where
because
I don't know who the player is. No, I don't know.
Another approach where, to make sure that there isn't the 1 in 10 million, you will allow, let's say, 100 to go free. Probably not 100.
No, but I don't think it's the right way to look at it, because I think in this case, every individual person and case should be considered in a vacuum. And you either believe it or you don't. And we have a staff of amazing grandmasters who put so much effort into this. We have a staff of amazing statisticians.
Okay.
We have boundaries that we've set up that are practical and compassionate, and also penalties that needed to become harder. That's why I was combining the word punishment and penalties. And every case should be considered like it should be in the court of law. Like, you should be given, you know, your like indictment by whatever, the jury of your peers. And it shouldn't be based on circumstantial evidence or a broader evaluation of whether we haven't closed enough murderers today. We haven't put enough people in the election.
Yeah, sorry, you guys. I can't do anything about this stupid jackhammer unless you want me to go outside and start yelling at my neighbor, which I'm not going to do. Like, unless you want me to go outside and literally go and like yell at my neighbor, I can't do anything about it. So I'm sorry, you guys. Like, I mean, I don't really feel like that's appropriate, nor should I be doing that. But that's the only thing I could do, is literally go outside and start yelling, like, you know, WTF are you doing? Like, stop this! Like, I'm working. But I'm not going to do that, you guys. I'm not going to do that. So calm down, okay? I'm not going to do that. It's Florida. For all you know, I go out and then the person's gonna like pull a gun on me or something. And yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Chair today, guys. Like, and this is not how this works.
But let's say there must be some cases that kind of stump you. Like you think someone is, you're not sure. Like your personal view. Like you think someone probably is.
For
cheating,
sure.
But you can't be sure. But
I stand by the process that
We see
we have.
those every week.
Yeah, no, I mean we stand by the process we have on that because we put a lot of effort into it, and there are people who you can bet your whatever. What do they say? Bet your bottom dollar, or whatever. I have an old man phrase to say that we watch those cases very, very closely, and if it was that obvious that there was a threshold of data, it would mount with time, and at some point we would be able to act. And so,
does it ever concern you that the algorithm just isn't good enough? Or the method to detect someone isn't good enough, and that's how they elude you?
First of all, everything concerns me. So of course it does. 100% it does. It also concerns me that our interpretation of the data could be wrong on both sides. So the same reason I lose sleep over someone who I think is an amazing player who refuses to confess is the same reason I'm concerned that the algorithm may not be good enough to catch cheaters here. I live in self-doubt. Honestly, I'm being real with you. I also trust the team. I trust their intentions, and we work really, really hard on this. We are closing people. It's not like I'm saying this and there's no actions being taken, or that there aren't people being closed who are threatening to sue us and whatever. I mean, so.
Oh wow! So people are threatening to sue. By the way, for anyone who's wondering, I'm going to be muting my microphone periodically on and off, just because of all this stupid noise from outside. But anyway, so people are threatening to sue them. So actually, it looks like this could become like really legal potentially. It could become really, really legal. But let's keep going.
We could talk about this forever, right? Because the reality is there are probably people cheating in spots and getting away with it. There are probably more people being closed for cheating than you're even aware of, because it's not like you're reading our article every month. You have a bit of a predisposition to think maybe we're not doing enough.
I do follow some of the closures, usually not in names that I'm super interested in.
And I don't even know that I have a predisposition to defend it.
By the way, you guys, that's very telling too. Like Fabiano follows it. Like I don't even follow it at all. I don't follow this at all. And I don't follow any of this. So it's kind of crazy actually. Fabiano's following. It's like I just play the tournaments and that's it. I don't know what the person's drilling. I don't know. Like I'm actually really tempted to get up and go outside now. It's like what's going on. Like I'm really, really tempted. I'm actually really tempted. But like I'm really, really tempted to get up and go outside because this is actually starting to kind of annoy me now. It's been going on for like 3 hours, which is really annoying. But anyway, let's keep going.
Then I have a predisposition to at least know that there is progress being made. There are actions being taken. And there's a gray area that I choose to sleep with at night, knowing that it's not a blanket, I'm letting this many cheaters go. It's everybody in a vacuum today was someone who I stand by innocence before proven guilt. And then I go to sleep. And then I wake up and I do it again. And everybody in a vacuum that day was evaluated. Some of those MFers were closed. Some of them weren't. Everybody was given actual effort, and you go to sleep in a vacuum because that's how it works. You can't operate. I refuse to operate in a different way. Our algorithm has gotten better. Why do you think we just had that conversation of closing someone who was... Do you think we go back and review cases for shits and giggles? We go back because we're trying to clean up and then do everything we can to protect.
Also, you guys, I think that when we look at this, my general takeaway on this is that I believe that Danny here is like he's getting a little bit annoyed at the whole conversation a touch because like they're trying to do their best and it's one of those things where it's like it's just difficult to deal with. But I think generally when Danny says like 0 to 2%, if it's 1%, that's fine. I also don't know if they're going to talk about it. I don't know if they're going to talk about Proctor or not, but my general view of Proctor is that it should be a situation where everybody should be playing on Proctor. I've said it before, but I think everybody should be using Proctor, straight up, plain and simple. I've told chess.com this, and I don't know if they're going to get to this, but that would be best.
And we were already suspicious, but guess what? We didn't have enough data. And then we have a breakthrough. We're getting better all the time. We have 30 people on salary who live in the data research department. And we review OpEx all the time and go, do we need all these people? Yeah, we do, because they protect the game.
So as someone just said, Danny said Proctor makes it laggy. Yes, but I would argue, I do believe that Proctor makes it laggy, but if everybody's playing on it and it's laggy, everybody's at the same disadvantage, so everybody has to figure it out. That's my attitude towards the situation, but let's keep going.
There were a few high-profile cases last year of people who got banned and then maintained their innocence, and even wrote publicly. I think like one of the most you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. You have to tell me he didn't cheat?
No, I'm not. I have no.
Okay.
But see, here's another example that I don't understand. Here's another example. Like, they're talking about someone. I have no idea who they're talking about. Actually, I've got no idea who they're talking about. But clearly, behind the scenes, if I talk to certain people, I probably would find out very easily who Fabiano is referring to and who Dan's referring to. But I have no idea who they're talking about. I've got no idea.
I mean, in general, my opinion is that people are cheating.
Right, so
not to say any names, just in general.
Yeah.
So Fabiano actually says it here, by the way. Fabiano finally says it. Like, I've said this before, but there are a lot of top players who are paranoid, for sure. There are a lot of top players who are very paranoid about this, but it's just that publicly they try to not say it. They try to kind of like say one thing privately amongst each other, and they try not to say it publicly. That's kind of what's happened. But here Fabiano basically says it. He basically just says it here, which is, paranoid. I mean, I do think that it does happen. Do I think that it happens frequently? No, I don't think it does happen frequently. In fact, I would argue now with less players, I think it happens a lot less. But I think there's also the problem that people just, I've played more online than anybody else by a big margin. And I play these kids in Blitz, and these kids are so annoying to face. They're getting so good. Like, I never get an advantage out of the opening. They defend the whole game. It's miserable to play against some of these kids. People like Yediz Gurel, for example, or Yigis Connor Dogmas, or Sina Movahat, or like the other Iranian, I forget his name. But Amadavi, I think it is. But there are like so many of these kids from Turkey, Iran, Uzbekistan, like Russia, all these different places. And they're just so good now that it's very easy to think that something's wrong. It's very, very easy to think that they think that there's something wrong. But having played all these people online now, it's just they're just that good now. They really are that good. But the problem is when you only play top level tournaments, you only face certain 2600 type players. You don't face these rising kids from like the newer generations. It's very easy to sort of have this like skewed vision or view of what the world looks like. So let's keep going.
But I don't have any skin in the game, let's say, in that one. But my question is not really like, are you sure, but more, how do you convince people that they should also be sure that the person you closed, who's a grandmaster or let's say a top player. I mean, I don't think that's the case that a top player has been closed, but let's just say it happens, and then they maintain their innocence. How would you ever reassure the public that you actually could possibly?
Guys, a take here, and maybe some people won't like this take, but I'm gonna give people a take. I think Fabiano's perspective is completely warped by spending way too much time on sites like Twitter and Reddit. When he says the public, quote unquote, I don't think the public even, the general public who watch like Levy videos or my videos, like the vast majority of people who follow chess, they don't even have a clue about any of this. And I think Fabiano is way over exaggerating how much this is an issue to the general public in a way that it's not. I actually believe that. I think the general public who's playing chess, watching Levy's videos or my videos, I don't think they care. I think Fabiano's sort of reaching towards an audience of a few hundred people to maybe 1,000 people who actually just like live and die with like following this sort of drama. But I think the vast majority of the chess public, they don't care one bit about this, nor do I think they ever will, if I'm being honest. I'm being honest. I don't think Fabiano's right on this. I don't think so. I think, like, let me give you an example. Let's just say 200,000 unique people watch a Levy YouTube video. Let's just say 100,000 unique people watch my video. That's 300,000 people who watch our videos. I'm going to tell you that out of those 300,000 people, maybe 1,000% care. Maybe 1,000 people care. Maybe 2,000 care. But the vast majority do not care one bit. And I think Fabiano's perspective is warped by being in a certain sort of a echo chamber of being around top grandmasters, living on some of these sites and things of that nature. I don't think the general public, I think the general public thinks chess.com is doing a good job. I do, actually. And I think when you live on certain echo chambers, your perception gets very, very warped. So I don't actually think so. It's not that they don't care, but I don't think they view it as a big issue. If it's 0 to 1%, I don't think it even registers. That's just the reality in my view. And it's tough to accept, but I think that's the truth. So let's keep going.
Possibly no, without giving details of your process away.
Honestly, you can't ever, first of all, you can't convince anybody of anything they've already made up their mind about. Just to be very clear, and I think it's really important that we establish that most comments being shared on the internet are those within the 10% minority on either extreme. This exists everywhere, from politics to chess Reddit to everywhere. And I say this because 80% of the people in the middle, most of the time,
That's what drives engagement.
know what you're doing, respect for what you're doing, also respect that you're probably doing your best and that there's information they don't understand. Like, seriously,
Yeah.
there are the 10% of people who
It's
hate
funny. So Danny's basically saying exactly what I'm saying. He's being a little bit more diplomatic about it, but he's saying exactly what I'm saying.
you no matter what you say, and then the 10% of people who love you no matter what, who are just as dangerous.
Yeah, the loudest people in
First
the
of all, to
room.
be
So
clear,
it shapes
most of the time
the
when we're
narrative
having
that's
this
not
conversation,
correct.
you're asking us, not you, but someone is asking us to defend against something that is very hard to have a conversation with, especially when we are not going to open up the algorithm, right? We're not going to do that for the greater good, to be honest, because there are areas where the algorithm struggles more than others, right? And so you have to be careful about that. And so to some degree, I would answer it in the same way that, like, you have to let your track record continue to speak for itself. And okay, like, there's all the, fantasies people have about whether some believe Hans Niemann won his case versus us, which he didn't, and we all agreed to move on, and I'm not allowed to talk about the terms of it. No one is. Ultimately, that case had nothing to do with cheating. It had to do with defamation, and his claims of conspiracy, which, by the way, were dismissed in a federal court with prejudice. So nothing happened there. Like, to that note, we have never lost a case on this, despite a lot of claims.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very strong track record of closing title players.
True.
We also have a track record of being accused of not doing enough. And we have a track record of some in a vacuum who think we do too much and lack transparency. I get it. It's hard. It's hard, honestly.
But again, what I would say about this here is I think that Fabiano, when he thinks about it, is like, let me put it this way. If you're a top GM and all you do is talk to other top grandmasters, they're literally going to probably tell you that cheating is a huge issue, and they're all paranoid because they're never winning Title Tuesday, or they think, in round 3 or, round 2 or round 3, they lose some like 2,400 CM, or like in my case, I played a 2,700 CM from Vietnam. Kid, I think it's a kid, I don't know, but he played a very good game, and it's not the first time he's played a very good game against me, and it was a big struggle to win the game. But that doesn't automatically mean the person is cheating, and too often I think the ego of the top grandmasters gets in the way of dealing with the reality that, like, chess is a changing game. Kids these days are getting freaking good. They're getting really, really good. And I think that's what a lot of these guys miss. But again, if you only talk to other top GMs and, your perspective of what the chess world really looks like is completely skewed. Completely skewed.
I just want to be clear, like, although I've probably accused you of not doing enough as a website as a whole, I also have said personally to you on many occasions that I don't know if there's a solution, right? I've said that many times.
And this, by the way, is also another problem with this whole video, or in general, that I have, which is like, you see here that Fabiano is saying that he's accused chess.com of not doing enough. But it's very clear here that Fabiano is referring to private personal conversations with Danny and nothing that he has said publicly. And this gets back to the thing that really irks me, getting back to the Hans thing very, very briefly, it really irks me how even after what happened with Hans, all these same people, they still don't really have principles. They don't stand up for what they were saying before or during that time privately, and then what they said publicly. And to me, this is a big problem, is you have like the public versus the private, and it's a huge problem. And I wish people would just be honest, and just say what they say privately, say it publicly, or don't say anything at all, is my attitude. So let's keep going.
In this case, I was actually just doing the left hand, right hand. I wasn't totally, but I appreciate that. And you and I have had a lot of thoughtful conversations about this thing, and it's a tough thing. I can't minority report this. There's a moral lesson in that movie in terms of what happens when you're trying to prevent crime. I wish I could. I can't stop people from doing bad things. I think that there will be people who have perspectives on both ends of that. And the amount of times we live in crazy aggressive lawsuits or parents doing this that go away and or later admit, that is worth its own book. It is crazy. And also, like, so then the last thing I would say to the extremes of it is like, we can't reveal everything to people who think we're acting in a power vacuum and not showing enough. We can't do enough to convince people that we're not doing enough totally, other than in both lanes, our track record speaking for itself, and continuing to do our best with that track record. And hopefully along the way to losing some mini PR battles, we ultimately win the war against cheating. And again, I acknowledge, in summary, we created our own monster and created our own problems by not having policies that I think reflected the market.
Yeah,
or
that's
the
true.
amount of cheating,
That's true.
or the opportunities. I think we are actually in a better place. And I think we're trying things that, you know, like with Proctor, and we should talk about that, because
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
And we definitely mismanaged that, and a lot of criticism Danya had was fair, by the way.
This is the other thing. This is another thing I want to point out for everybody who's watching. Is I think Danny chose to do this because he was greatly affected by seeing Daniel's podcast with Fabiano and Christian, which I think played a huge role. In terms of him doing this. But let's see what they say about Proctor here.
But yeah, you can't argue with that, especially when you know, there's just no way for us to provide all the information people want. But in the end, I'm sorry, and I really will shout out Christian, is that in the end, not just our track record, we have to just continue to act with integrity. And what is integrity defined for us? Some people may not like us, they may not, but you know what they can argue with? We're acting within our terms of service. So you may not like it, but you think you're suing us, this person. You were closed to a policy you agreed to.
Yep.
We have to protect ourselves with a lot.
Good old TOS. It's just like I find it's like, it reminds me of like when you get an Apple, when you get like a phone, Apple or Google or Samsung, or you get like, you know, you log into Facebook or you log on to Twitter or all these sites. It's like a lot of people don't understand how that works. They don't understand how that works. Like once you agree to use it, like you can't do anything at all. You can't do anything.
With liability, with terms of service, ultimately you are agreeing to play by our rules and on our platform. And I understand there are people who scream and don't like that, but every platform has their own terms of service for a reason, because you're trying to give yourself the best chance to operate in the gray and to do what you think is right. And I think we are, and I acknowledge we can and maybe could have done better to get here, but I think there's been a lot of very good things too, but right now I'm not here to talk about the good things we've done. I'm just talking about this problem, and this is a big problem, and I appreciate you guys hearing me out.
We should talk about Proctor, as you mentioned.
By the way, I will just say this too. I don't think it's a big problem. I think it's a problem, but I think it's very minimal. I think it's a problem, but I think it's very, very minimal. And I think it's mostly top players just being unaccepting of the fact that kids these days are becoming so good at chess. I do think cheating happens every week. I do think there probably are people where that's the case, but I don't think it's a big problem. I don't. And I say that basically based off my own experience playing a lot of these kids in Blitz, whether it's in Title Tuesday or just in general. And I just think the game has changed, and the top players generally, like they can't accept that the game is becoming so much easier, where people are becoming so much stronger. There's so much more information, and it's sad to see. It's sad to see. So like in my opinion, I don't agree. I think it's an issue, but I don't think it's a big issue. And I think it comes down to top players mostly just being paranoid. They're just mostly paranoid, and they can't accept the fact that like these kids are getting so good. They just can't accept it. So it's mostly, in my opinion, about ego. I do think cheating happens, but I think most of the time people are wrong. I think most of the time people are wrong. I don't follow Arena King, so I don't play it. I only play Title Tuesday, Freestyle Friday, and Bullet Brawl. But you know, it sucks obviously if it happens, but I really do not believe it. Maybe players cheat less against you due to your platform voice. Yeah, I've seen that conspiracy theory. It's not the first time I've heard that. Maybe that's the case. I don't know, but I'm just telling, like, I mean, the most obvious example for me is I played this guy, Sina Movahad. Specifically, and he's played Title Tuesday for the last couple of years, but I feel like it's, you know, it's like probably 2 years ago. You said CM, you're playing, he's this candidate master, I think, or maybe FIDE master, doesn't get his GM title, which he obviously should have, and you're playing him, he's just playing these great games over and over again, and it's very easy that when you lose or you get crushed, you're like, man, this kid, he's got to be cheating or something. But sure enough, you see him play tournaments like in Doha and Qatar, he beats Noterbeck, he now has a GM title, he's a very, very good player. And it's like, to me, this is the problem with the whole thing, is it's like you have these kids who are not able to play a lot of tournaments, but they are getting very good from doing puzzles, all the experience playing Blitz online, all these different things. And it's so easy for the mind to, no, I can't lose to someone who's a FIDE master. It's not possible. I can't get destroyed by a FIDE master. No, it can't happen. Or like another example is like, you look at today, I played Renato Terry, who for whatever reason, or maybe not whatever reason, I don't think he can afford to travel to Europe and get the GM title. I played today. I'm just getting outplayed. Now, I was able to turn the game around, get a little bit of miracle and win, but I was getting outplayed. And again, you see the title, and I think a lot of players, they assume the ratings are correct when they aren't correct. Where's the energy regarding Hans? I've spoken about Hans a lot over the years. With Hans, it's very simple. He cheated. He was a proven cheater multiple times. So I don't think you can talk about giving him the benefit of the doubt when this was known amongst basically everybody. I'm sorry, but that it was known. This is not something where like this is up for debate. It was known by most top players that Hans had cheated online, not just once, but multiple times. So I mean, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different when you have that information as the baseline to start with. So let's keep going.
With Danya, we spoke, just to give the audience a bit of background, we spoke to Danya. He uses the Proctor service, but not all the players that play in prize events do. And he complained about a number of technical issues regarding it. And also, I think one of his gripes was that he uses it, but other players don't. And so it's a kind of an unequal playing field in that sense. But it's something that your website uses to prevent or protect against.
I don't know what Danny's going to say here, but I will tell you guys that I am not a fan of Proctor. I think Proctor has many issues and is very laggy, but my attitude is that basically chess.com, they have to do two things. Either they can figure out what's wrong with Proctor and get it so it's not laggy and it's a smooth, well-oiled piece of software with no glitches, basically. Or if they can't figure it out and they have to go with it, my attitude is make everybody use it. Like literally, I think I said this to chess.com recently. I said, I don't like Proctor. I don't think it's a great piece of software, but you know what? It just make everybody use it. If everybody's playing with the same lag, everybody's at the same disadvantage, and people are going to adapt to it, and some people are going to figure it out, and they're going to do better. But make everybody use it. That's my attitude towards the whole thing. So like in general, I think it's it's unfortunate the way it is, but my attitude is either like fix it or just make everybody use it. But I think there has to be a world where everyone is eventually playing with Proctor.
It's cheating.
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about why we want to use it or what our goals are with it. Great summary. That was really good. Sorry, I'm just teasing. We're just having fun here too.
We are, yes.
Life is too short, guys. We're having fun in life. This is all meaningless. Remember that.
We're having a chess cheating discussion. Of course, it's meaningless.
Everything is no. I mean, life is full of meaningless, and you make your meaning. So here's the deal. Danya's criticism totally fair. You should know that we had already been in a lot of back and forth with Danya, obviously, before he was on this podcast.
Also, let me pick up the speed a little bit as well. It still has a ways to go, so I'm going to put it at 1.25.
He was on this podcast in different conversations, of course, and it's not that it needed Danya to be outspoken for this to be happening, but Danya, similar to a fire being lit, sometimes when there's a public PR scandal around cheating, like, you should know that there has been a lot of performance review happening around Proctor, and this is a top priority. Because his criticism in regards to it not being up to snuff is fair, and we are not going to accept rolling something out that isn't. When it is rolled out again, it will be universal for all players, or we won't roll it out at all.
Good.
That's where we're at, because it can't be a performance thing, especially for some individual players.
Good. Agreed. Good.
So that is happening, and his criticism is fair.
Well, the problem is that Fabio already said that he's not going to play under the current.
Yeah, I was kind of going to ask this question based on my own view, but I wasn't sure. Maybe it's a petty point, and maybe I'm the only one.
Yeah.
But like, let's say Magnus and Hikaru and I and some other Ali Reza all tell you they won't play under Proctor. And now...
But see, here's the problem. I've already told chess.com that I will. My attitude towards this whole thing is very simple. Everybody should be using Proctor. I don't think anybody should get an exception. I should not get an exception. Magnus should not get an exception. Fabiano should not get an exception. And I really think that Fabiano here is really overvaluing his worth to say that, because I think chess.com will be like, no, we don't care, Fabiano. You might be number 3 in the world, but we're still going to run our tournaments anyway. And I'm very firmly in the camp that everybody should use it. So I think he's just flat out wrong here.
You have a choice between doing what you want to do, rolling out Proctor, or accepting that we all don't play.
Yep. When Proctor is ready, we will say goodbye to you guys. Hikaru and Magnus are already using it, so you know. And Danya, actually, I was going to get
Magnus is using Proctor?
Magnus has
Isn't
used
he, like,
it.
occasionally just playing on his phone or something?
Because it isn't universal, but he has used it.
Okay,
When it is required, he will.
Okay.
And he has already been required at times, just so you know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so has Hikaru. But now let me talk about Danya's experience, because he's not wrong. And by the way, I think I'll give you some time to answer this. I wonder how you would answer the question for someone who cares so much about cheating to believe it's a fair position to take that you would not at least try something once before denying it. By the way, that seems like a pretty dogmatic.
I can give you my answer. I think it's a fair answer.
Yeah.
It's because I don't, like, honestly, I don't respect the tournament.
So you don't care about title.
Wait a second. Sorry, you guys. Let me get this straight. So Fabiano, the guy who's complaining about cheating nonstop, is literally saying that he doesn't respect the tournament. But then why is cheating such a big issue? I mean, what? I mean, I'm sorry. Like, what is he even saying? That's insane. That's actually, you don't respect the tournament, but you're saying that cheating is a big problem? Then why are you even talking about the issue in the first place if you don't care about the tournament? Like, I mean, this is just weird. This is insane. This is insane. I'm sorry. This is actually insane. Like, this is insane. So you're complaining about cheating, and you're saying it's such a big deal, but then you won't use the anti-cheat software because you know you're not cheating, but you're not going to do it for the good game. But then you also don't respect the tournament? Like, I mean, what? What? Like, I mean, it's very contradictory. Very contradictory.
Tuesday.
No.
Okay. Well, then
But not just that I don't care. It's like I'll play it because I want to maybe try a new opening, like for a personal reason, not because But when I play the event, I do feel very often that it doesn't have integrity. Like it's not free from cheating.
So basically what Fabiano is saying is he's basically kind of like Kramnik, for lack of a better way of putting it. He just assumes there always are people cheating because he never wins, and he suffers against these like CMs or FMs or IMs. And yeah, this is, I mean, Fabiano did a good job. I mean, I've said it before, but Fabiano did a good job. He did a good job of not letting his true feelings come out, but here it's getting revealed. It's getting exposed by Danny inadvertently. Inadvertently, it's getting exposed.
Which I might be totally wrong, but that's my feeling. That's my intuitive feeling when I play. Early on, I'll play someone I don't trust. Later on, I'll play someone I don't trust.
I feel bad that that's the story that goes on.
So here we go. This gets back. So basically, I'll read between the lines of what Fabiano is saying. Fabiano is basically saying that, like, in the first 4 rounds, he's going to play someone who, like, puts up a really good fight, and he doesn't believe that some CM or FM or IM can put up that good of a fight, like some random 23 or 2400 player. That is exactly what he's saying. Basically word for word, and usually Fabiano is not on like a 6 out of 6 or 7 out of score. So somewhere in like the rounds, like let's just say 7 to 9 or something, he plays someone when he's on 6 out of 7 or 5.5 out of 7. And again, it's someone who's like an FM or an IM, and he doesn't believe he can lose to them. Plain and simple. I put it to you guys in a nutshell.
It's on in your head, and I want you to know, I'm sorry, but when we roll out Proctor, then you won't be playing on Tuesday or in any events on Just.
I mean, I won't complain about it.
Yeah,
that will just.
It won't be in any events. You won't be playing in SCC. You won't be playing. Tuesday.
I do it in those other events.
And just to be aware that, like, one, I do think it's an inaccurate story you've told yourself. That's my position.
Ooh.
And I think once we have a story, it's very hard to get out of it. But I also don't agree that if you're not even willing to try something, I don't even think that's a fair perspective, because you're asking someone to argue with a religious, dogmatic point of view before you're even willing to consider the information. So I'm going to get back to the story about Daniel, but I think you should think about that.
But it's not based on, like, me not wanting to use Proctor. It's not connected to that. It's not that I won't try it out.
But if Proctor is the tipping point based on some sort of stories you've heard that other people have had with Proctor.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just because when I play Title Tuesday, I do it because it's a convenient way usually to try out a new opening. Okay. But I don't find...
This is where I'm going to use the class line. This is liar, liar, pants on fire. This is complete liar, liar, pants on fire. You do not play Title Tuesday use an opening. The games in Title Tuesday literally end up in the chess-based database. The games that you use end up in mega database where all the games are stored. Like, when you play in Title Tuesday, these games end up in the chess database, which people are studying later on. So, like, this idea of using a new opening idea, you're never going to use a new opening idea, because if you do that, it's going to end up in chess base. Someone's going to see the game and look at the great idea that you just showed. So I'm sorry. I call liar, liar, pants on fire. I mean, this is complete nonsense. Like, to show a new idea, you don't do that. I mean, it's the exact reason I play so much garbage in Title Tuesday. I never play my real openings, because I know these games are going to be out there and everyone's going to be studying these games. I mean, like, it's insane. How's it going, Becca Harris? I think that's Daniel Naroditsky, by the way. But yes, like, the whole reason that I play absolute trash in Title Tuesday is for this exact reason. The games are going to be out there for everybody to look at. Like, what is this nonsense? I mean, I cannot believe that he's trying to justify this. It's insane.
Or because I want to play a bit of Blitz online, but not because I feel like I'm playing a real event. So when it comes to another event, like let's say the Champions Chess Tour, those events usually I feel like I'm playing a real event.
And so you would use Proctor there.
Yeah, well, I've already gone through.
Again, you guys, I mean, I hate to say the same thing again, but I'll say it for the millionth time. It's very clear here that basically Fabiano doesn't think he can lose to anyone who's not a strong GM. Basically, anyone who's not like 25-50 GM, he can't lose to them. So like for a Champions Chess Tour where it's only 2,600 plus, he believes that everyone's clean and legit. But when it comes to like Title Tuesday where anybody can play, he just doesn't believe it. He just doesn't believe he can lose to a weaker player. That's my interpretation, my read of what he's saying here. Because like otherwise it's nonsense. Like why are you willing to use Proc for other events but not Title Tuesday? I mean, and for anybody who's asked me why am I defending Danny Wrench here, I think Danny's right. I think Danny is actually right here, and I think Fabiano is completely wrong, completely off base with what he's saying. And I think it does show, you know, one thing that I've said many times, a lot of top players, they say something publicly and privately they say something else. And I think you're seeing it actually in action here where Fabiano inadvertently, he's revealing what he truly thinks about it versus what he's tried to say publicly to put on some diplomatic front about like, you know, about it. So he's actually getting cooked very hard by Danny here. He's getting cooked very, very hard.
The security measures for years with those things, right? I've also played with in-person proctors for events that I...
What if using Proctor was a lot easier than you think, and the security measures for Zoom and all these other things were actually more obnoxious than what Proctor is going to be? What if Proctor was actually an easier, more convenient solution, and that what you're doing right now is taking a position without even knowing...
But it doesn't have to do with Proctor, it has to do with the event. It has to do with Title Tuesday.
I think
maybe my
your position
is not clear, but
would you say that your position in relation to Title Tuesday will change once everybody plays with Proctor? Once, let's say, the conditions improve in terms of...
I would have to like look at the event. I would have to look at the event.
Oh no! Fabiano's just digging himself a bigger hole. I mean, this is kind of hard to like watch because like Fabiano. I mean, basically, it's what I said before, and I say it again. It doesn't matter if someone's using Proctor. It doesn't matter if he still loses to some random FM from Iran or from Uzbekistan or one of these kids from India or wherever it might be. He's still going to think the event has no integrity. So I mean that's the problem. I mean that's the problem with the whole thing. Is it's just like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And actually I am very surprised at how much Danny's cooking him here. I really am. Really I'm surprised by this. I'm really surprised by Fabiano saying this because like, I mean, to me, it looks very clear. Like if you're talking about every other event except Title Tuesday, what is the difference between Champions Chess Tour, SCC, I don't know, Bullet Championship or whatever it is? It's very obvious that it's not an open tournament. People who are like, you know, these 2,300, 2,400 kids from, you know, these from the stands or from India or from Uzbekistan or, you know, China or Iran or Turkey or wherever. It's very clear that, you know, that's the big difference. There are people who are not top GMs who don't know how the Knights moves, who are beating all these top guys, and it's like, so it doesn't matter what they do, you're just never going to accept it. You're never going to accept it. You don't think they can beat you. You're just that good at chess. Obviously, for me, I don't have that take, because like I played plenty of these kids, and they sometimes will kick my you-know-what when I play them in Blitz or in Bullet or whatever it might be. They will. They'll destroy me. But that doesn't mean they're cheating. And when you have a lot of experience with that, you start to understand that chess is not the game that it once was.
Event from the outside. Because also when I look at the event from the outside, I do feel like cheating is on a massive scale. That's again my personal opinion.
What is he talking about?
I do see it like pretty often, and I could show you like individual results. We can on our own time.
You have,
yeah.
We've agreed on some, and we've not agreed on others.
Sure, yeah. But also it's not like something that it's personal to me. Like I lose a game and suddenly I'm upset. You know. I also look at it from the outside, and I do feel like I'm not looking at a real chess event. I'm looking at some sort of hybrid. Like some people are cheating, some people aren't. That's my feeling. Could be wrong again. But when I look at some other events, I usually feel like they're more clean. So if I ever got to that point where I felt like
I mean, it comes back to what I said. I don't want to repeat myself again, but for the last time, I'm going to repeat myself before we end the video. It's very clear. What Fabiano is saying is that he doesn't believe that these kids or these people who are 2,400 can possibly beat him at Blitz. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. He just doesn't believe anybody who's not a 25-50 GM can beat him, basically. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's very, very simple and straightforward. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. Because otherwise, nothing he says makes any sense at all. It just makes no sense. You look at other events. Well, what would make the other events look real versus Title Tuesday? I don't know. Maybe the fact that SEC only has people like Magnus or myself or Ali Reza or Nepo, only top GMs. That's the only difference. It's the only difference. It's the only difference. So I mean, it's very obvious. It's very obvious what he's saying, and in a way, I'm happy. By the way, you probably can tell that I'm a little bit happy about this. And the reason I'm a little bit happy about this is because for a long time I've said stuff about players like privately saying something versus publicly, and so many people on the internet are like, oh, you're making this up for content, you're just saying this, you don't know what you're talking about, blah blah blah. But this really is like driving home the point of what I've been saying for the last few years. So it actually does make me feel really good to see Danny tripping Fabiano up here, because so many people are like, oh, he's just making this up when I say something about these top players, especially as it related to Hans. But just in general, so many people are like, they're like, he's just making up for content. He, it's just drama or whatever, versus simply the fact that people have said these things to me privately. So I kind of have heard it firsthand. So it kind of does make me a little bit happy in a way to hear this.
Title Tuesday was a clean event for the most part, then I would be willing to go through some sort of measures to play it. But otherwise, I'm not going to put myself through a circus. That's the only thing.
Again, the measures will be easier than you think. You will make the choice that you do. Title Tuesdays may be a more important part of the future events ecosystem in the EWC than you think, and you will make that choice. And you will make that choice with Team Liquid, and you will make that choice with whatever floats your boat. Let me get back to Danya's story. So his criticism, totally fair. The product needs performance improvements. We are working on that. And that's not like a quick thing to dismiss. It's ultimately the most important thing, because as I was saying before we got into our very healthy discussion, we will not roll something out that isn't required for everybody, and I won't settle on something that I feel like the performance, at least, I mean, if everyone's equal, at least from a fair perspective, I'll know it's fair, but I don't want to roll something out that feels bad. So we are on it, and Danya's criticism is fair. The only thing I wanted to say about that, and because I've talked a lot with Danya back and forth, is that the timeline he laid out was accurate, and what broke down was just communication, meaning Danya has been a full staff member for almost 2 years, recently took a step back from broadcasting, wants to take a break, but he's still a full Slack member on chess.com. He goes in and out of channels, team members ask him questions, different things, right? And so when we were rolling out Proctor, I want to say Danya did volunteer. In fact, we were incredibly grateful, right? He was super cooperative to be one of the first people because he cares about this, and he said that. He opted in. Then when March came around, we did think we were closer. We thought we were imminent to this product being ready. And we ran into massive performance reviews when we started facilitating more streamers and realizing we needed to make the performance better. Here, and there were other things too, but I'll save the dialogue. What really broke down was we should have pulled back, told Danya, thank you for being awesome as always with your service. You know you're not someone who were worried about cheating, chill, and whatever. And we should have spent more months going back a little bit further in beta stage. You know what I mean? We didn't. The communication got bad, or it just didn't happen. So before you know it, when you add that lack of communication to the fact that we were several months behind, and the fact that we have now done more thought in the last couple weeks to realize that we may not need it for every event. For example, it may not be needed for bullet events. And if those are the events that have the most performance risk based on the speed of it, there may be reasons for us to be, we are reviewing the policy, and we're not going to operate in a blanket world that isn't good or that isn't thoughtful about it. And I think the Danya conversation was super helpful. And the last thing I would say though is, and this is not because I know we've had a long podcast, I'm not going to ask you guys to respond to this, but I think it is a thing to just ask yourself that, how would you roll out something from 0 to being 100% that is so critical that to the chess world that doesn't have a beta stage? Like, how would you do it? How would you scale it? How would you bring in title players of the world's top profile versus this? At some point, you do have to have a rollout policy where some people are going to be on it, trying it, helpful, maybe some more willing than others, and some aren't. Like, the reality is rolling it out. Again, if we had more time, I would ask you guys to really be thoughtful, because product roadmaps are a real thing. It is tricky. And at some point you do have to commit to bringing in some people, reviewing the performance, iterating, improving. Okay, let's try it again. Let's try it again. That's a thing. And we messed up in doing that with the communication. And ultimately that's what led to that feels bad conversation with Danya. But just so you know, his criticism was fair. And I think we are going to be in a good place.
So what's the end?
Yeah, so I think we've covered enough of this already about cheating and about Proctor. I mean, I think for the most part, Danny was very, very good on this. I think Fabiano's hypocrisy and his failure to just basically say what he should say because he's afraid of how people are going to react to it because of the elitism behind it is kind of a big problem. I think Danny definitely exposed that here. As I've said many times, I think cheating does happen. I don't think it's a major issue. The only thing that I would say about this, it does feel like when you play someone early in tournaments, sometimes you feel like people overperform in a sense. But, you know, when you play kids, as I've said, the game is constantly changing. It's always getting harder and harder. And so for me, my attitude is have everybody on Proctor, and then basically all the top players, you know, you can play, or, you know, you can be paranoid, or you can just play and deal with it where everybody's playing on Proctor. But I do think everybody should be on Proctor. Very clear. Like, I'm not going to, there's no world where I think I shouldn't have to play on Proctor or Magda shouldn't have to play on Proctor. As I've said to chess.com, have everybody play on Proctor. Just basically say, look, play on Proctor or you're not playing. I'm fine with that. I suspect Magnus will be fine with that. Maybe Fabiano won't be fine with that, but that's life.